Hey learners, welcome to Ahmad Coaching. I am your teacher Dr. Anam. Today we are going to study about types of functional neurons. In my last lesson I told you that neurons, they are the structural and functional units of nervous system. It means the nervous system is not only made up of neurons, but all the functions in the nervous system, they are also controlled by neurons. If you talk about a neuron is responsible for transmitting and processing information through electrical and chemical signals. It means the neurons is going to get the information, going to sort it out that what kind of information it is, and then it's going to transmit or send that information to the effectors through electrical or chemical signals. If you talk about the functional types of neurons, we have three different functional types of neurons, including sensory neurons, intermediate neurons, and motor neurons. Let's talk about all these one by one. First of all, we have sensory neuron. Sensory neuron comes from the word sense, which means to feel something. So sensory neurons are the neurons which are related to sensory information, or they are related to feeling something. Talking about the structure of sensory neurons, they have one single fiber like this. This fiber is pinched off in the form of cell body at a short distance. So in other words, we have two branches extending from the cell body. One is going towards the receptor side, while the other one is going to the central nervous system, which includes brain or spinal cord. The cell body is itself present in the dorsal root ganglion. When you talk about the ganglion means cluster of neurons, like a place where there are so many neurons are present that they are making a cluster, and that cluster is present in the dorsal root. Dorsal root means the spinal cord or dorsal side of spinal nerve. So the cell bodies, they are present in the dorsal root ganglion. From the dorsal root ganglion, they are extending their axon towards the cell receptors, and the other branch is going towards spinal cord or axon. The function performed by a sensory neuron includes the transmission of sensory information from the sensory receptors. The sensory receptors include skin, eye, ear, nose, or any other organ. For example, in this diagram, you can see that this person is about to touch the fire. The sensory neurons or the sensory receptors, which is skin, they have these sensory neurons. As soon as the person is going to touch the fire, the sensory neurons, they are activated. They are going to get the signals. They will transmit the signals to the spinal cord or central nervous system. So like I said, the sensory neurons, they are involved in sensing something. So in this case, the sensory neurons, they are sensing that something hot has been touched by the skin. So this is the function of neurons, that they are going to get the signals from the sensory receptors and then they are going to transmit it to the central nervous system. The example of sensory neurons include photoreceptors. Photo means light. So these receptors, they are going to detect the light and they are going to send the signals to the brain for the visual processing, so that you can see what actually is in front of you. Similarly, they are also present in the skin, which are related to touch and pressure, and they are known as mechanoreceptors. So anything you are touching, if it's soft, it's rough, you can feel these, because the sensory neurons present in your skin, they are going to get the signals to the central nervous system, so that you can feel what kind of texture that material has. The second type of neurons, they are known as intermediate neurons, interneurons, or relay neurons. These neurons, they are multipolar with many dendrites. Here you can see that they have a lot of dendrites here. They are present in various size and shape, and it depends on their location and function. They are actually present in the central nervous system, like in brain and spinal cord, and their main function is to connect sensory and motor neurons. Here you can see this part here. This is our interneuron or interneuron, and this interneuron is connecting the sensory neurons with the motor neuron in the form of an arc. Like I said, the function of the intermediate neuron is to act as intermediate person. It's going to help the brain in performing complex tasks. They are going to integrate the information within the central nervous system. They are going to get the information from the sensory neurons. In the central nervous system, they are going to process them, and then they are going to send the signals to the motor neurons. Their example includes reflex arc neurons. They are going to facilitate the quick automatic responses to the stimuli. For example, if you accidentally touch something very sharp, you immediately push your hand away. That sudden reaction or sudden movement is actually because of the reflex arc in which the interneurons they are involved. Similarly, we have cortical neurons. These neurons, they are related to cognitive functions like learning and decision making. For example, if somebody is asking you a question and you have to respond to that person very quickly, that quick response is actually helped by the interneurons. So this was another type of functional neurons called interneurons. Let's come to the third neuron type, which is motor neuron. As the name indicate, is motor. So we know that when motor is working, it means something is working very quickly. If you talk about the structure of motor neurons, they are also multipolar, means that they have multiple branches coming out of the dendrites. They have one single long axon, while multiple dendrites and a cell body, the typical structure of a neuron. They contains a cell body in the central nervous system. It means that in brain or in spinal cord, the cell body is present, and their axon, they are extended into the muscles, glands or axon terminal, so that they can control the movement of muscles or glands or target cells. Their function is to carry the signals from the central nervous system to the muscles or the glands so that they can initiate the response. For example, like we said, that person has accidentally touched fire. It means that the hand needs to be moved away from the fire. So in this case, the signals which were taken from the sensory neurons to the central nervous system has been processed by the interneuron, and interneurons send the signals to the motor neurons that call the muscles to withdraw. So the motor neurons going to take the signals to the muscles and going to ask the muscles to withdraw, and in this way you are going to push your hand away from the fire. If you talk about the examples of motor neurons, we have somatic motor neurons which control voluntary movements. The voluntary movements are the movements which are controlled consciously or done by yourself when you are thinking. For example, grabbing a pen, writing on the notebook, sitting, standing, walking, all these movements are voluntary and they are controlled by somatic motor neurons because they are involved with the skeleton muscles. The other type of motor neuron is autonomic motor neurons. The autonomic, like the name indicates, that it's going to be automatic. They control the involuntary movements, the movements which are not controlled by you, or unconscious movements. For example, heart rate, digestion, all these movements, they are controlled by motor neurons, which are autonomic motor neurons. So that was all about different types of functional neurons. If you have any question related to this topic, if you wanted to learn another topic, just let me know in the comment section. If this video was helpful to you, like it, subscribe to my channel, also share this video with your friends, and I will see you in the next video.